never stop reading the Bible. We're looking closely at Psalms 56 through 60. These are traditionally linked to King David, and they really capture some incredibly intense moments.
Intense how? What kind of moments are we talking about?
Well, think suffering, persecution, even national crises he apparently faced. These writings seem to come right out of those struggles.
Got it. So our goal today is to sort of unpack what these sources say about David's experience, how he navigated all that hardship, his trust in God, and maybe what these ancient words can tell us about getting through tough times ourselves.
Exactly. Let's start with Psalm 56. The context here seems to be David fleeing King Saul. He's actually so desperate he ends up in enemy territory, Philistine territory.
Wow, that's pretty desperate.
It is. And what's striking is this contrast the text draws. On one hand, you have human vulnerability, almost like man is nothing in the face of this threat. But then David makes this repeated, deliberate choice.
Which is?
To trust God. It said he chooses this trust like 3 times, despite everything pointing the other way.
So even with enemies literally trying to, crush him, his default is trust.
Yeah, that's the picture painted. And the text suggests that because these enemies oppose someone trusting God, their time, their power, it's limited. Their malice might be real, but it's not ultimate.
And is that where his confidence comes from knowing their time is limited?
Partly, but it's more rooted in memory, actually. The idea is that David remembers how God delivered him before, that past faithfulness becomes the foundation for trusting God will save him again. It's that he did it then, he'll do it now kind of thing.
Right. That makes sense. Okay, so then Psalm 57, is the situation similar? Still hiding out?
It feels very similar, yeah. Still being hunted by Saul, maybe literally hiding in a cave. But the language here describing the enemies gets even more graphic.
How so?
They're called things like swallowers, people setting traps, like he's living among lions and scorching ones. It's intense imagery of danger.
Sounds terrifying. But David's response isn't just fear.
No, quite the opposite, actually.
Yeah.
He actively seeks refuge. Specifically, it says, in God's mercy and truth, he runs towards God in the midst of it.
And there's something about his mindset, too, isn't there, even in the cave?
Yes, exactly. The text highlights that his mind is somehow stable, fixed. And this stability isn't passive. It actually leads him to wake up early, to give praise, to give thanks.
Waking up early to praise God while hiding in a cave from killers.
Seems remarkable, doesn't it? And his vision is bigger than just his own survival. He's praying for God's glory to be exalted over the whole earth, even from that desperate place.
Okay, wow. Psalm 58 seems different, though. It shifts focus a bit.
It does. It moves from personal enemies to systemic wickedness, specifically rulers who fail to bring justice. The source describes this as a really deep corruption, like from the womb.
From the womb, that's strong language.
Very. And it uses this powerful analogy. They're like a deaf snake that deliberately plugs its ears so it can't hear the charmer's music, ignoring the truth on purpose.
Like willful ignorance, willful injustice.
Precisely. And because it's so deliberate, so ingrained, the text suggests divine judgment becomes, necessary. Swift judgment.
And what's the effect of that judgment according to this psalm?
2 things, really. The righteous see it and rejoice, maybe in relief or vindication, and it serves as a lesson, bringing understanding to everyone else who observes it. Justice is seen to be done.
Okay, then Psalm 59 brings us back to David's personal danger. Assassins at his house.
Yes, Saul sending men to kill him. And the emphasis here is on David's innocence. He insists he's done nothing to deserve this relentless attack. His prayer is straightforward. Protect me, save me.
And there was an interesting point about how God might deal with these enemies, not just immediate destruction.
Right. The insight offered is that maybe God scatters them instead of wiping them out instantly.
Yeah.
The purpose, so that Israel sees their gradual downfall and remembers it unmistakably as God's judgment, not just, bad luck or something.
And a longer-lasting lesson. And pride is involved.
Absolutely. The texts link their downfall directly to their pride, their arrogant words, trusting themselves, dismissing God. Seeing them eventually defeated and wandering just confirms, that God is the one actually in charge.
And David, despite the immediate threat, he's looking forward.
Yeah, he anticipates the morning of salvation. He's already planning to sing praises to God, even while the threat is literally at his door.
Okay, one more. Psalm 60. This one has a different occasion, something about teaching.
Yeah, the context given is that it was written perhaps for teaching purposes, prompted by a major military defeat Israel suffered against Edom.
A defeat, so not a victory psalm.
No, and the perspective presented is that this defeat was actually seen as God's discipline, a corrective measure.
But David isn't despairing even then.
No, despite the setback, he expresses confidence in future victory. But here's the key. That confidence isn't based on regrouping the army or better strategy. It's based purely on God's promise.
How is that shown?
It uses the image of God giving them a flag for truth, a banner to rally under representing God's faithful word. And God reinforces it, saying things like, "I will exult," promising future triumphs.
So the flag represents God's promise, not human effort.
Exactly. And that leads to the final contrast drawn. The complete futility of relying on human help versus the absolute certainty of salvation that comes only from trusting God. Human strength fails. God's promise holds. This deep dive was based on source material from the Center Studio.